On this broadcast, we're going to speak of the Planet X system and the coming cataclysms of the solar system. Nibiru is another name for Planet X. It is believed there must be a disastrous encounter between the Earth and the Planet X system, collisions, or can be a near-miss event. The term was coined by astronomers in 1995. In 1916, the American astronomers studied the anomalies of orbits of Uranus and Neptune planets, and later, in the year 1929, a young astronomer by the name of Clyde studied the skies and taken photographs of the night sky, intervals, and observed orbits of the ninth planet. Hence, Pluto was discovered. Though near 2006, the ninth planet, Pluto, was considered a dwarf planet because of the size and mass. Okay, let's talk about rogue planets. These are planets far beyond Earth, folks, which are not bound in any planetary system or stars. These are injected by cosmic disturbances. Rogue planets don't have any proper name yet or even history. Rogue planets are normally giant and possess no life, and also there are billions of rogue planets in the observable universe. When you think about it, rogue planets are planets that orbit the galaxy directly but don't have a host star. Studies show that these are likely outnumber normal planets by more than 50%. There are billions in our Milky Way. These planets often fly across the planetary system, disturbing the gravitational fields and causing havoc. If this enters Earth, it may not hit the Earth, causing collision, but can have causing a huge effect as a close flyby near the planets, which disturb the orbits of other planets' gravitational fields, which in turn disturbs the Earth orbit. Earth is composed of numerous life forms, and we all have towards the triple point of water here. Water exists in three forms: solid, liquid, gaseous, and also states. Earth falls in the habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone. These rogue planets may cause death and destruction if it enters the solar system. Few may be listed as global disaster, like new climate phases, which may lead to disturbances in the life cycle, global warming, melting of polar ice caps, in which turn will shut down the grid. Over temperatures may rise to 140 degrees Celsius. There may be wildfires in the forest, and also cities and towns. This may disturb the thermal area above the Earth's atmosphere that may lead to ice ages and superstorms, hurricanes and tornadoes. Now folks, the question arises, will Earth ever become a rogue planet if it is thrown out of its usual orbit by the coming cataclysms, Planet X Nibiru? If so, then the Earth may move away from its orbit and become cold and a dry place. Trans-Neptunian planets. These are minor planets which orbit the Sun at a greater distance than Neptune. In 2014, 6 trans-Neptunian planets were discovered. In 2016, 7 more were discovered. As time passed, more and more trans-Neptunian planets were discovered. Planet Earth belongs in the Goldilocks zone, where indeed it's safe for life to persist. But there are many numbers of celestial bodies out there orbiting the Sun, and even rogue planets too. Hence, there is constant threats by other objects, folks. Now the truth is, for the Planet X community, on the further reaches of our solar system, on the outermost edges of the asteroid belt, there exist celestial bodies unknown to mankind. Maybe this is forming at the beginning of the formations of the solar system of a huge dark object, the Destroyer, Nemesis. This object is binary towards our Sun, the Sol, on this 3,600 year elliptical orbit. This is fascinating stuff, folks. This information needs to be spread out worldwide because this needs to be told. This huge object to the further reaches of our solar system, Nibiru Planet X, is 7 times of greater mass in size than Jupiter. Look at our world, the Earth, folks. With this flyby, it will cause a great catastrophe, a crustal pole shift. These celestial objects appear as regular intervals of time of passing in the sky. Because of the gravitational anomalies which have been drifting for these from the past for many years. But even so, these have engulfed life forms on Earth due to the constant encounters with the Earth many long years ago. Folks, they call it cosmic catastrophes, gravitational anomalies, or other forms of energies out there in the vast cosmos have been indeed disturbing our very own planet and its orbit. Since the timescale of the universe, it is very large compared to the life forms here on Earth. It is very difficult to foresee these events by any consistent beings on the planet. But indeed, folks, there are some very unanswered questions like rogue planets. Do these form outer planets on the far reaches of the solar system, which are being disturbed by Planet X, or vice versa, and can be a reason for causing the deviations of the orbits, and which can be caused shifts in the orbits of inner planets of the solar system. With more interesting findings of also history of this Hebrew scholar, author and speaker and archaeologist Zecharia Sitchin explained Nibiru appearing in Sumerian records correctly refers to large planetary body. Their research proposes that it possesses a highly elliptical 3,630-year orbit. Such a planet would be approximately in the same orbit as 2000 CR 105. According to these theories by the Sumerian cosmology, Nibiru was the 12th member in our solar system, the family of planets, which include 10 planets, the Sun and the Moon. It is indeed the catastrophe collision of Tiamat, a planet that was between Mars and Jupiter, would have been formed of the planet Earth, asteroid belt, and the Moon. These badly behaved objects, which number between 4 and a dozen depending on who is counting, share another orbital path. Like most, they orbit at an angle to a pancake-shaped plane, where the planets live, rising from the pancake for part of the time, then plunging through the dip below the rest. But unlike their frozen partners, these objects also pass through the planetary plane at the same time, and they make their closest swing towards the Sun. Or indeed, to use a term many astronomers find, they are remarkably similar arguments of the orbits in our solar system. Normally, this is what Scott Shepard stated, a scientist, a planetary scientist at the Carnegie Institution of Science. He stated you would expect arguments of the orbits to have randomized over the life of the solar system. Maybe it's time towards where thinking of the orbits of those few bodies ended up with the same such orbit. A thing should happen purely by chance less than a few percent of the time. Those odds are something like getting 10 heads in a row when you flip a coin. It is pretty unusual, but nowhere near impossible. See, for this month in January 2025, we're going to see an alignment in the solar system, but they state as well, but these 10 heads could also mean your coin is loaded at the same time of these object space bodies, planets. Something may have forced the objects into this strange configuration. And that is something that could be huge, an unknown planet that signifies more mass than Earth, lurking out to the edges of our solar system, a super Earth. Super Earths are planets up to roughly 10 times more mass than the Earth. If such a hidden object, sometimes squeamishly called Planet X, exists, it would orbit at least 10 times farther from the Sun than Neptune, to a distance to a faint object to have been spotted by any telescope to date. Yet, of the mass would have a gravitational effects on the rest of the solar system, that effects that might explain the odd orbits astronomers have seen. See, leading back to when we speak about the SPT telescope down at the South Pole in Antarctica, scientist, astronomer, Mr. Rodney Marks lost his life. They covered up the story because these strange people, astronomers, that came in to the SPT telescope, unknown people folks, and swept away photography and information, so nobody could see this in the public eye. But they explain as well with the evidence to date, because that's part of this inquiry. When we speak of the SPT telescope down at the South Pole, of those people that came in, took people's lives, and also had taken information from their systems. This is what they say just afterwards. I would say about a year afterwards. They explain they don't have any definite proof yet that there is a planetary mass body out there. See, the information was taken away down at the SPT telescope, folks. A planet information theorist who also works for the Carnegie Institution. He explains something funny is going on that we don't understand, but they did understand if they got that information. A growing number of astronomers are putting stock in once again ridiculed notions of the presence of a super Earth. The midst, again, Planet X. I always said this before, that every time we look into these readings by different civilizations across the world, it always leads back to Planet X, Nibiru, because the information, they got the information using the IRAS telescope. They got the information with the SPT telescope. People's lives become at very high risk, and people passed away. But then when we look into the scientific community, they explain we don't have any definite proof yet, just after those disappearances of people's lives. But they also explain, but something funny is going on that we don't understand, because everything was covered up. When I speak about other people as well, astronomers, way back in the 1800s, as far as the calculations are concerned, it always leads to the same calculations by different people from across the world, book authors, civilizations from mysterious years, of thousands of years, the Sumerians. It always leads back to the same information, just like the first research for the hidden planet circling the sun came in the early 1800s, when scientists become increasingly convinced that Uranus, discovered accidentally in 1781 by the musician turned astronomer William Herschel, was not orbiting quite as Newton's law of gravity said it should. Several scientists posed that this gravity is a large undiscovered planet was to blame. And in 1846, a German astronomer, folks, John Gall, spotted the gas giant Neptune. Basically, they were his friends as well. The French colleague Urbain had calculated it as it should be. There is evidence as well that Galileo had actually seen Neptune in the early years of 1612 with his small crude telescope, but assumed it was a star. See, many people through different years going back had all looked up towards the heavens, and many of these astronomers and researchers had seen something different. Thank you for listening to this very short broadcast, because just look into different areas of research and also the civilizations, calculating everything, folks, books, calculating the mathematical readings to the changes of our solar system, noticing the changes of the weather patterns, hurricane activity, volcanic activity, and also changes towards humans as well. This low frequency vibration is affecting everybody, and the establishment are fully aware of the coming cataclysms, Planet X. I'm going to come back to you tomorrow with more Planet X information and the changes towards the Earth, and more very, very important photography of the night sky, space, and our solar system. Please take care. From Matt Rogers.